Introducing Tools for Living Your Fullest Life. This is Life's Toolbox with Kenny Brixey on Empower Radio. Now, here's your host, Kenny Brixey.
Welcome to Life's Toolbox, where each week we introduce tools that will assist you in discovering and embracing your own incredible truth, value, and worth. These tools are designed to empower your journey to living a more mindful and purposeful life, and they will guide you to live as the beautiful and perfect authentic essence that is you. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, instead of a tool, I have an invitation that I want to extend to you. I invite you to be the peace that is needed in this world. Now, for some of you, that may sound pretty overwhelming. It is a powerful request. It is also a very doable request. While it is not at all difficult to be the peace that the world needs, it is a very powerful gift that you can give. The title of the show is Out of Peace, Chaos. And I just said that totally backwards. I was getting ahead of myself here. It's out of chaos, peace. We are talking about finding peace within chaos, finding love within fear. We could easily turn this into a tool by simply changing the title of the show, and then we could treat it like a tool all day. But I'd rather just talk to you about the possibility of you being the peace within the chaos and you being the love within the fear. I want you to just experience peace. I want you to feel love. And I want you to know that you can do that no matter what is going on within your life, no matter what is going on in the world around you, and no matter what you see happening in other parts of the world, you can still be peace and you can still be love. When you do, you become a beautiful example for the world to see. And that's how you are the peace that is needed in this world. The world seems to be getting more and more chaotic these days, which can be extremely frustrating for those of us who strive to bring light and love and peace to our experience of life. It is saddening sometimes and even disheartening when we see hatred and anger all around us after we have shared and expressed kindness and love out into the world. With the recent shootings and acts of hatred, it seems as if fear and chaos are growing stronger each day. Sometimes it feels like we're going backwards in finding this peace and expressing love, then it just kind of doesn't seem to be working sometimes. The darkness seems sometimes to be spreading, and the chaos around us has many of us in a reaction mode. With so many people stuck in this reaction mode to one extent or another, little is actually being done to illuminate peace. So how do we find peace with all of the hatred, despair, depression, anger, war, terrorism? The list just goes on and on and on. With all of that negativity that's going on all around us, how can we find peace? Where do we look? How do we transcend chaos and find peace? How do we transcend fear and find love? We first find peace within. Until we find peace within ourselves, within our own being, within our essence, we will find no peace. There's been many demonstrations that have used the mantra, no justice, no peace. Folks, that will never work. You will never find justice until after you practice, experience, find peace. Peace must come first, or justice will never be found. Peace must come first, or chaos will never be tamed. Until we find peace within, we can do nothing to illuminate peace in this world. The example used in the aircraft, on those airline safety demonstrations of putting your own mask, your oxygen mask on first, and then helping others, holds true here as well. You cannot help others find peace until you find it within, until you can experience it for yourself. And folks, once you have found it within, all is well. So how do we find it? How do we connect with it? The first thing we must do is connect, or the first thing that we must do to connect with inner peace is to take a moment, literally take a moment and just do it. We must spend time identifying that place within that holds our peace and connect with that first. Until we do that, we are spinning our wheels. Some days may seem like we are making headway into our search for peace, but we will always fall back to step one until we identify and connect with the peace that is inside first. As long as we're looking outside first, we're never going to truly find it. Peace truly is within each and every one of us. It is within me. It is within every person on this earth, and it is, whether you believe it or not, it is within you. Peace is that feeling that you have when you know all is well, even if it's only for a split second. You felt it at some point in your life. Tap back into that feeling. It is still there. That peace is still there, and that peace is still available for you to experience. And you can experience for longer than a split second. You can experience, it can become the new normal when you seek it out, when you become aware of it, when you give yourself permission to experience it and find a practice that allows you to connect with it repeatedly. You know, I know I've said this before here, finding peace, it reminds me of the quote from Zig Ziglar where somebody said something about motivation doesn't last. Well, we could replace motivation with peace and say that peace doesn't last. And Zig Ziglar's response was, well, neither does a bath. That's why we suggest you take one every day. Peace is the same way. We find a practice that allows us to connect to it, and we do it repeatedly. So to state the first step towards peace very simply, it's feel peace. That's right. Just feel peace within. Ways you can do that is meditation, prayer, visioning, mindful breathing, and gratitude. These are all examples of how you can elevate the peace within and around you. And let me clarify that. You have to do it within first, and then as you do it within, you notice it around you. There are other ways as well, and you can find those by simply tuning into how you feel while you're doing something, or take notice of your thoughts about the practice that you're doing, and how do they make you feel. Any number of things. People use exercise as a way to find peace. People use reading as a way to find peace. It's all about how you feel. If you feel peaceful when you're doing it, that's a way to practice feeling peace. If that practice brings you a sense of well-being, if you feel love and goodness, go for it. You're on the right track. No matter what practice you choose, though, they all have a commonality, and that is the requirement of your awareness and your presence. You must be fully present in the moment and aware of your feelings and thoughts in order to feel peace. You know, you can go into prayer, you can go into meditation, you can go into visioning, you can go into all of the things that we've mentioned here, and if you are not aware of how you're feeling, of what's going on within you, you'll never find that peace. So you have to be aware. You have to be fully present. No matter which practice you choose, awareness and presence are necessary. The fear and chaos that seem to block our peace are driven and strengthened by our non-presence and our lack of awareness. It's as simple as that. When you feel confused, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel chaotic, it's because you're out in the future or off in the past somewhere. When we allow our thoughts to drift off into the future, we become worried and fear sets in. Sometimes that fear does not present as fear, as most of us define it. It can come in as an anxiety about an upcoming project, a worry about something unknown. We can have tension about a change that's about to take place. It can be all these little things that we pretend don't have anything to do with fear, but folks, they do. They all add up and become a great fear if we're not careful. It can become a very strong fear, and it might stay a little mild fear, but it's still fear, and fear moves us further and further from our peace. It becomes a habit and a behavior, and if we're not careful, that's going to become our normal. When our thoughts are stuck in the past, we find regret and we find anger there. It is not usually, or it's not always something bad, that happened or something that we messed up. Sometimes it's just that we regret or wished we would have said something that we didn't say. We may have wished we did something a little differently. Looking back into the past caused us to compare life that we live yesterday to life of today. Looking back sends us into judgment as we see what happened as right or wrong, good or bad, and then compare that to today as being better or worse. It just goes on and on. It's kind of a vicious cycle, if you will. Being fully present in the here and now is the only way to release all the fear and regret and open awareness to the well-being that truly is within us always. Peace, love, and well-being is not something that will come to us someday when all is right in the world. Okay, we don't have to wait on it. In fact, nothing will ever be right in the world until we become aware of and feel the peace and love and well-being that's already within. We make the world right by being here now, by being fully authentic, and by being fully aware of all the goodness that's already within us. So here's the good news. You do not have to develop practice to help you be fully present and aware, and then find other practices and behaviors to help you connect with peace. You don't have to have this whole list of things to do, one for each thing in your life. They're interchangeable, and what helps you become present will also help you find peace. So let's start our talk on peace practices with a chat about prayer. Okay? Now, let me be very clear here. This is not a religious sermon. Okay? Many people turn to prayer in violent and tragic times. We've just had all this shooting and violence around the world that we've heard of this past week. And a lot of people go to prayer in those times, so let's talk about it. All prayer, no matter the religion, is seeking connection to love, peace, and well-being, period. That's where it starts. All prayer. Prayer is not reserved for just the religious among us. It is not reserved for just those people who use the word prayer. It is for all people. Prayer is simply a communication. It is a chat with the universe. It is a communion with creative energy. It is hope. It is faith that something is, even if we cannot see it yet with our own human eyes. Prayer is not something that happens only inside a designated building that has a label such as church or mosque or temple. Prayer is simply a way to connect with our truth. Now, many of us move from the simple truth of prayer and add our own wish lists. That's not what I'm talking about here. Prayer, at its essence, is simply communication with a higher power or our highest self. It's how you define it. As wonderful and powerful as the practice of praying can be, prayer is often misunderstood, though. And we got to clear that up if we want to make this a tool that we can use. There are many who are praying for peace, and many of those prayers are coming from a place of fear. The prayer comes from the belief that there is a lack of peace, therefore we must pray for more. Jewel has a beautiful lyric in her song Life Uncommon that goes like this. There are people, there are plenty of people who pray for peace, but if praying were enough, it would have come to be. That lyric, to me, has a beautiful meaning that for a long time I kind of misinterpreted. In my opinion, I misinterpreted. I don't have a clue what she meant by it, but here's what it means to me. At first, I thought that you prayed and then you went and took action. And you can do that. But that was my belief of that before. Now my belief is along the lines of what I'm about to tell you. You pray and you feel. Just praying the words alone is not enough, but when you pray those words and you feel those words, when you feel that intention of the prayer, that's when things change. So when you get a chance, listen to the song. You can come up with your own interpretation of it, but it is absolutely a beautiful song. So to pray for peace puts all of our energy and our focus on the lack of peace, is what I want you to get. Here's what I want you to notice. Most of us pray for peace. Now remember, the key word here is for. Pray for peace. We must change the way we pray, and we must begin to simply pray peace. We must pray peace. We must pray love. I believe I've told you the story here about a man in New Mexico who invited Greg Braden to go with him to pray rain. I'm going to tell the story again just because it's a beautiful story. They set out on a walk into the desert. 2 hours into the walk, they came upon this area that had this really elaborate rock formation that had been laid out in a circle on the ground. During the walk, the man had been somewhat silent, kind of in his own thoughts. And once they arrived at the formation, he removed his shoes and he stepped into the circle of rocks. His time in the circle was not terribly long. It was relatively short and, for the most part, silent. After being in the circle for that amount of time, he stepped out of the circle, put his shoes back on, and began his walk back to where they began. Along the journey back, Greg asked the man, I thought you were going to pray for rain. And the man corrected and said, oh, no. We went to pray rain, and we did. He went on to explain that praying for rain, like I said before, it puts our energy on the lack of that thing. And there is that key word again, for. When we pray for something, our minds and energies realize that something is missing. And since that is where our energy goes, that's what we attract. We attract more of what we're missing. Instead, the man suggests that we pray rain. And I absolutely love this. I've adopted this in my own prayer practices, and the results have been pretty amazing. Anyway, pray love, pray healing, pray kindness, pray peace. Now, if we pray for peace, the word for, we will be giving energy to the lack. We certainly don't want to do that. So instead, like I said, we pray peace. To do that, we follow the example of the man praying rain. The journey to pray rain was as much and maybe even more important than the time that he actually spent in the circle. All along his walk to the circle, he was preparing for prayer. He was allowing each step to connect him further with the energy, that divine energy within, that was the connection he sought. Each step he took allowed him to move further into himself, into that place where he fully connected with creative energy. By the time he arrived at the circle, he was ready to actually express those feelings and that energy, that prayer that he had been working on for that 2 hours. He had been prepared, he'd been preparing his entire walk. His prayer was not to ask for rain, it was to give thanks for rain. In our example, we want to give thanks for the peace that is already here. His prayer was feeling rain, physically, mentally, and emotionally. His prayer was feeling the rain caressing his face as it fell from the sky. His prayer was feeling the mud squishing between his toes as he walked barefoot through the mud. His prayer was listening to the gentle rhythm of the raindrops hitting the ground. His prayer was seeing the green grass and the thriving plants. His prayer was seeing children playing in streams of water running through their yards. And his prayer was seeing the raised lake levels, giving home to the abundance of fish. Prayer is seeing the prayer as if it has already been made manifest in our lives. Studies have shown that our minds cannot tell the difference between the imagined experience and the real thing. We create the same vibration imagining something as we do experiencing something. The vibration is what attracts like vibrations. That's law of attraction 101 there, folks. When we pray peace, we vibrate peace, we experience peace. So today, as we look for ways to cope with the violence in the world, we do not pray for peace. Stop, because that just means we need more and more peace. We pray peace. We pray what is already there. We prepare for prayer. For some of you, it is listening to soothing music. You may want to sit down and just listen to some Native American flutes, and that helps you get in that place of prayer. You may want to take a walk. I love doing my meditation walk with my prayer beads. It helps me get into that place where I pray goodness, love, peace. Your way of preparation may be a meditation. It may be a visualization. It can be anything that just turns your focus to the conversation and communication you're about to have. As you pray, see peace as already abundant within you. Connect to that part of you that is peaceful all the time. And yes, peace is within all of you all the time. We just have to notice it. We have to become aware of it. We have to be present. A great way to connect with that place is the 3-breath connection exercise. Let's go ahead and practice this before we move on. You can do this anywhere that you are. You can even do it while you're driving. Just don't go as deep and leave your eyes open, please. So just begin by settling into your seat. If you're standing or walking, just kind of feel that connection between your feet and the floor. If you're walking, settle into that gentle rhythm in your pace. The key here is to allow yourself to be receptive to calm and open to peace. As you settle, focus on your breath. Notice how it feels when you breathe in. Notice the feeling as it passes through your nose, moves through your throat, and continues into your lungs. Notice how it feels as your belly extends a little bit, and notice the feelings as you release your breath. Your belly contracts back in a little bit. The air releases from your lungs and back out into the world. Now continue noticing all of this in your breath as we begin the 3-breath connection exercise. Breathe in gently and deeply to the count of 4. 2, 3, 4. Hold that to a count of 4. 2, 3, 4. And release that to a count of 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And repeat. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. And release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once again, breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. And release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take a deep breath and just release. Anytime you hear about a horrific or tragic news, whether it is a shooting, a bombing, a traffic fatality, anytime something upsets you, whatever it may be, before you jump into judgment about it, practice this 3-breath connection exercise and connect to your inner peace first. This exercise works wonders in your life in so many ways. First of all, it diffuses the reaction phase. The reaction phase is that phase where even before we know the whole truth of a situation, we're reacting to it. Sometimes our reactions come in physical form and are usually driven by fear and uncertainty. Sometimes those reactions come in the form of thoughts which just cascade over us in an ever-increasing negativity of worry and fear and anger. Our thoughts turn into our words, which elevate whatever feelings are driving them. Before we know it, we are creating a new reality in our lives. When we take a moment to breathe first, when we take that moment and practice our 3-breath connection, which as you saw took less than 30 seconds, when we do that first, we reconnect with peace and love within. And from there, we can create thoughts and responses based on those truths instead of the initial fear and worry that we had before. We give ourselves the opportunity to authentically respond or do nothing, whatever happens to serve us and the world best. Responding is a much more thought out and beneficial choice for us than reaction, because when we respond, we have taken the time to consider more than raw emotional stimuli. As we put this behavior into practice more and more, it gets easier and easier. When you can make this practice your new normal, the negativity of the world does not send you into that spiraling vortex into darkness. It instead becomes a call to action, a reminder to connect to your truth. Each time something happens that calls you to go within, follow your breath, and connect to the purest part of you, then goodness has risen up from that darkness. You have allowed a negative situation to spark light. Shining your own light into a negative situation illuminates hope and possibility for others. Meditation is another practice that connects you to peace. It goes hand in hand with the prayer and the 3-breath connection. Practicing them all together empowers your experience and creates a positive experience no matter what's going on. These 3 wonderful practices can be done, like I said, together, or you can practice them singularly. For me, meditation first thing in the morning sets the tone for my entire day. Usually the peace and the light that I find in meditation stay with me all day long. And if they don't stay with me all day long, I notice a positive effect on everything that happens anyway. And it's a reminder to take another meditation. Do the 3-breath connection again. Folks, when we pray as described above, we pray constantly in constant connection with our higher selves, higher power, God, universe, whatever it is that you connect to is available when we pray in that way. When we pray as described above, we feel, see, hear, smell, and experience that which we focus on. And in that, we bring positivity into our lives. And to wrap up today, I want to once again invite you to find the peace within you. Be the peace in the chaos. Do this for you. Now, many of us try to do this kind of stuff. We try to find peace and find love so that we can share it with others, and we don't necessarily do it for ourselves. Not today, folks. Today and every day from now on, find peace for you. Experience your own inner peace. Do this for you, not others. As selfish as this might sound, it is truly the greatest gift that you can give to this world. When you do this for you, when you find your inner peace and embrace it, experience it, and express it, your entire life will expand and elevate. It is then that you become the inspiration to others. You must feel it and experience it first. Then they too will want to know more about how you do it, and they will want to do it for themselves. Folks, thank you so much for listening in today. I invite you to follow the Life's Toolbox Facebook page, where you will find daily affirmations to help brighten your day, links to this show, the archive shows, and lots of other goodies as well. Also, please visit my website at www.kennybrixey.com to find out more about my work. My deepest gratitude goes out to Brent Carey for creating this amazing resource for empowered living that is Empower Radio. Also, thanks to my producer, Mark. He's doing an amazing job for this show and many other shows in the Empower family as well. Folks, until next week and beyond, remember this: you are empowered to elevate peace out of chaos and love out of fear. Make that your new norm. Love and peace.